Hello, everybody. My name is Sue Behrens, and I am a professor of bioprocessing at Keck Graduate Institute in Southern California. We are a center focused on training for bioprocessing and manufacturing industry. So I have been at Keck for almost a year. Before that, I was at an engineering company, Integrated Project Services, IPS, one of the top engineering firms supporting the life science industries for facility, labs, office, and anything related to manufacturing operations. And I spent over 20 years at Merck in a variety of different roles, working primarily in manufacturing, supporting both full-scale and pilot-scale manufacture for clinical lots, and focused on biologics and vaccines towards the end of my career, although I did start in the small molecule space. So I want to talk today about collaborating as we build our new talent pools moving forward. And I think this is really important and is the reason that I have shifted from the industry career over to the academics at this point in my career. So the agenda for today, I wanted to talk through overview at a high level, my perspective on the definition of biopharmaceutical manufacturing, so that we're sharing the same perspective there. Projections around the talent pools, because I think that's a key point for understanding some challenges that are about to come to our industry over the next probably decade or so. And then to talk about Pharma 4.0, because another thing that's going to have a major impact on our industry is going to be the digitalization of our tools and our processes. And we need a talent pool that's ready for that. And so I would talk about what that has an impact on from a talent point of view, and then some opportunities around talent development where we can work together between academia and industry to build a better, stronger talent pool for the industry overall. So in terms of learning outcomes for today, I hope that by the end of our presentation that you'll understand the current state of talent availability in biopharmaceutical manufacturing, that you'd be able to define the requirements of Pharma 4.0 and the impact it has on a demand for talent, and then recognizing that we need a shift in education and training if we're going to bridge across to success in this digitized manufacturing environment that we're headed towards. Just a little bit of an introduction to what Keck Graduate Institute is. We are a college and is part of the Claremont Colleges Consortium, which is in Claremont, California, the eastmost city in LA County. And we are a young institute founded in the 90s with the mission of translating science for the benefit of society. There was a recognized gap in bringing the scientific discoveries to patients, and the institute was founded with the idea of working collaboratively with industry to bring that ability to bring these great life-saving opportunities to patients. So we have 3 schools. We have the Riggs School, which is focused on business and engineering. We have a pharmacy school, which offers not only a PharmD, but genetics and occupational therapy is a program we're kicking off in the next year. Our PharmD, for reference, doesn't focus on retail pharmacies, but rather focuses on where do we place PharmD in industry, recognizing, again, the role that they bring to successful translation of science into commercial therapeutics. And then we're looking at building a school of medicine in the next 3 to 5 years. We expect to have a MD program, and we also are looking at a physician assistant program as well. We are focused on an entrepreneurial culture. We want our students to know how to solve problems and how to bring things, as I said, to the market as successfully and make sure that patients have access to all the therapies that are out there. Within the Riggs School is our center, the Amgen Bioprocessing Center, which was founded with a grant from Amgen in 2003. And we're focused on instruction and research in all kinds of biopharmaceutical processing, including mammalian and microbial cell culture and fermentation, stem cell research, bioseparations and purification, and we're building a stronger and stronger set of tools in data analytics. So overall, biopharmaceutical processing and where it is today, we really are in a place where things are changing significantly. So there is this concept of 3 pillars of medicine. You can see the graphic here. And, you know, we started with molecular therapies 100, 150 years ago and have grown through monoclonal antibodies, the largest molecules in that space, into gene therapies and cellular therapies, where we're trying to either bring a gene and correct that genetic material so we achieve the therapeutic benefit, or where we're actually trying to change cells, whether in vivo or in vitro, to effect an improved therapeutic outcome. So I want to shift then to think about what do we need as talent to support that broad set of modalities that's coming down the pipeline. So when we talk to executives around the world and ask what are the biggest challenges, the constraints on talent are a large piece of that challenge for the future. And you can see that when hiring managers talk about who they're looking for positions outside of R&D, that translation space. How do we bring this product from the lab and into the therapeutic area? So the most challenging areas to fill are in this bioprocessing space. So regulatory affairs, process development, quality. And you can see this comes from a overarching survey that was done by the Coalition of State Biosciences Institute. And in addition, we have a constraint not just on what our talent is capable of, but how much talent we have. So right now we're about to head down into a constraint on talent just driven out of demographics. So you can see here that what's shown is the population of 18-year-olds in any given year. And you can see that as of 2021, we'll be at the lowest point in a long time for the number of 18-year-olds, which of course is the feed into our undergraduate universities and the feed into our STEM talent pool. It does grow over the course of the next few years, but then it looks to plummet radically. So when thinking about how to address the problems of talent, it's not just a question of what they do, but how many we have and how efficient are we. In addition, until recently, we had very low unemployment, and obviously the impact of the coronavirus on our overall economy is still yet to be defined, but there is still a large competition for the limited amount of talent we have. And hopefully once our countries are all back up and running again, we will see again that opportunity for full employment, which therefore often reduces the drivers for higher education. So oftentimes we see in these times of high employment that students don't pursue those higher level degrees that are there and are required for the scientific and technical aspects of our industry. And then I talked a little bit about how our industry is changing and how the technical requirements around the industry are changing. So not only are there more and more technology platforms related to the different types of products, but there's more technology for how we make each product, and there's more need to cross those platforms with each other, and that multidisciplinary focus is getting more and more important. So what's it look like going forward into the future? So when asked the biggest challenge for the growth of the industry, you can see there's a number of items that are listed, but the second item listed by executives around the world is the staff and technically trained staff. So where are we going to get that technically trained staff? It's changing on who it is and who that staff is. So the workforce is going to be more and more diverse. And you can see these are a couple of graphics from a great report from Deloitte on the biopharma workforce. And you can see that we'll be looking for people with different sets of skills as well as different kinds of people, and people will be contributing to our industry from different avenues. So we won't be having everybody be a full-time employee who shows up to the manufacturing site every day. We have to learn how to reach out and work with employees who are around the globe in different places at different times and contributing what their skills can bring to our new digital environments. So that's a little bit about the talent constraints and where we might be headed. So where's the industry going? So what you hear in a lot of conversations is talking about Pharma 4.0. So in introducing Pharma 4.0, it's good to start with, well, what's this concept of 4.0? So what is manufacturing 4.0? So you can see the concept comes out of it was actually a German article, I think, that coined the terms. That the first generation of industrial revolutions was really water and steam power when machines were able to be operated beyond human power. And then the second industrial revolution is aligned to mass production, the assembly line, and the wide availability of electricity, and kind of the early 1900s. And then somewhere in the 1970s, 1980s, computers and automation became more and more important for all of our industries. And we started to be able to tell our machines and equipment what to do through computers. This fourth generation, which is what we talk about when we're focusing on manufacturing 4.0, is the cyber physical systems talking to each other. So rather than humans driving through automated computer systems, the automation will talk to other automation and gather information in order to drive things forward. So in discussing that, there's a few points that are important. One is the idea of cyber physical systems, or CPS. So overarching the 4.0 is really the delivery of this concept, where your physical plant, your supply chain, your shipment, your raw materials handling all gets mapped into a virtual environment, and therefore can be manipulated and operated on by other virtual systems. And it's the full digitalization that gives us this opportunity for 4.0 manufacturing. In addition, you have the integration of the Internet of Things. So we're integrating technology and sensors that are speaking wirelessly across different pieces of equipment and systems. And that allows us, using analytical tools, to make real-time decisions. And that's really the benefit, is that we have a constant feedback loop inside our overall manufacturing process, so to ensure that we're constantly delivering the most efficient that we can. And then finally, the digital transformation impacts everything that we do. It's not a digital transformation that is talking just about your manufacturing environment or robots operating your packaging line. It's talking about being able to manage your data through your supply chain and through your shipment channels as well. So from raw materials to customer is a way to think of it. So here's a great depiction from Tony Mears-Toulouse at AstraZeneca, thinking about how does this impact us in the pharmaceutical industry. So how we work today, we really have a lot of different steps that are still very manual, even in our most most automated facilities. And you can see, starting at number one, that we have paper batch records in a lot of places still. We're getting more and more to electronic batch records, but we still have a lot of paper logbooks, calibration records, all kinds of things that are paper. And because they're paper, we don't have real-time data, so we can't make real-time decisions. And in addition, we still have a lot of manual and repetitive work, and that limits how efficient we can be. And anytime we continue to rely on manual steps, we of course increase human error. Anytime we have humans, we have error. So what we're looking for is going to move us out of that space. In addition, the supply chain, as I mentioned, is a piece of this. The supply chain visibility is often manual, and we're still relying on often very highly evolved spreadsheets, but still spreadsheets. And then we have paper-based instructions for how to move things between, and then the lack of visibility in the movement of our goods. We don't know where things are in the supply chain. Where we want to get to in a digitalized environment would be to have access to these data. So if we take everything that we just discussed and we digitize it, we would go from paper batch records to electronic batch records that are not only recording, but are predicting and enabling us to use analytics as feedback control to make sure we constantly stay in the most optimal space for the best quality product. We would therefore have real-time data for continuing to manage that process control, as I mentioned. More and more, we could rely on automated and robotic solutions to move physical things forward through our processes. Have the ideal environment where we can visualize our end-to-end supply chain and we know where our product is at any given time. And then looking at other wireless solutions, wearable and mobile type solutions that give us data without having to think about translating that data. So imagine somebody is writing with a wireless pen, we automatically capture that data rather than having to transcribe it back into a computer system later. Or wearing a pair of goggles that just looks at a balance and sees the weights and records that weight directly into our electronic batch record going forward. So all of this IoT and digitalization brings data real time to our systems, and this is what we call Pharma 4.0. So the impact on our talent pool is going to be significant. And talking through a little bit of that, there's going to be obviously, we've heard a lot in this presentation already about that interconnection of the real and virtual world. And our people, our employees, our staff are going to have to understand what that means and how they fit into that part. They're always going to be in the real world, but this virtual world is going to be existing and operating around them. There's going to be decentralized intelligence. That means it's not all decisions are getting made on the floor or by a supervisor or a manager. And so we're going to have all these object-related decision-making going on, and we need to understand the impact of that, the risk of that, and make sure that our systems are built for success in the long term. Autonomous process management is obviously a goal. It's something, honestly, that's been talked about since I was in this industry, since I first joined over 30 years ago. We've been talking about lights out facilities and the opportunity for our facilities to run without staff there to move things forward. And then data management. A tool that we need to think about is, what do we do with data? We get lots and lots of data, but it's not helpful unless we can move it through an analysis and take action. And only after we take an action have we brought value to the data. So thinking about all of this and what it means for our talent, based on a report that was built, again, by Deloitte and was presented recently at Davos. Here's some quotes that I think are really meaningful. There aren't too many people we can take straight out of university who have everything we need. So as academics, we need to take this feedback and say, what do we need to be doing? Because we're adding a burden to our customers if they have to train people after they leave the academic environment. It's hard for business to ask governments to prepare the students, and I read that as government and academia, because things are changing so rapidly, and the speed by which the education system changed is a completely different track. And really the point there is that academics aren't paying enough attention to how fast we need to move to keep up with our partners and our customers in industry. And last, the fact that the focus is on needing more group-based and project-based activities, because this is how we work, and this is how we'll work more and more. And I would overlay on top of that these need to be virtual group-based and project-based activities. And all of us, with our response to coronavirus, are now seeing how we can work virtually and how we can still maintain our group activities and push our projects forward. And we need to take ownership of that and move that forward in the academic world. So another thing to think about is what are the skills that are required? So we tend to think about skill requirements, and we think about technical skills. I need to teach somebody how to operate a line. I need to teach somebody what a cell culture should look like. In reality, when we survey industry participants, we find that more and more the focus is on the softer skills and on the ability to step up and deliver new solutions. So of course, complex problem solving, which incorporates all those technical skills, stays at the top. But what we see is that what's increased over the last 5 years is critical thinking and creativity, that we really need people to be evaluating that data. And if you think about this, how this relates to digitalization, that data, we need to know that it makes sense. So we need people thinking critically about every step and the inputs, and then being creative about how to bring that together and how to drive towards solution. And a couple things that are new on the list for 2020, emotional intelligence, because we're going to be working across so many different sets of skills and we need teams to deliver and not individuals, this becomes more and more critical as we move forward, and harder to deliver, honestly, across virtual platforms. And so we need to focus on building those skills in that virtual space. And then cognitive flexibility. And this is about being able to learn new skills. This is meeting that business demand for a changing environment and teaching our students not what they know, but how to learn more, how to learn going forward. And so we're not trying to only focus on content. We need to teach students to teach themselves. How do they get on Google and solve a problem rather than having a professor teach them? So those are a couple of the skills, and the trade-offs for those skills, what decreased and fell out of the list: coordinating with others and negotiation, which I think are built into some of these other activities, so they slip down a little bit, but they're still important. But what left was quality control and active listening, but I would argue that the critical thinking that coordinates and covers quality control and emotional intelligence clearly requires active thinking. So I think it's a broadening of that concept rather than an elimination. So what does this mean in detail for our skills that we need for biopharmaceutical manufacturing? How do we bring that together? So the skills for the Pharma 4.0 that we talked about have to encompass all the emerging technologies like continuous manufacturing, cell and gene therapy, process analytical technologies, in order to get that ongoing data acquisition. In addition to some of the things that we've talked about for years in process understanding, we've been talking about quality by design and continuous process verification. We need more understanding and a more multidisciplinary commitment to understanding compliance and regulatory affairs, and that is going to happen through a better understanding of data integrity. We need rapid release, particularly to support some of these new modalities like cell and gene therapy. There just isn't time for 60-day release turnaround windows. And automated file updates as well. So electronic CTD give us the opportunity to constantly update our files so that the agencies understand what we're doing and make sure that we're not putting patients at risk around the world, as well as the hopeful opportunity to be able to roll out an important change around the world much more rapidly than we can do now. It can take up to 2 years to make a change in our regulatory filing systems, which means we can't get inventory at the highest level of quality with our most recent processes for 2 years to some of our patients. And then last, we have to bring in a stronger understanding of data management. Really that ability, as I talked about, to go from acquisition and aggregation to analysis and action so that we bring value out of our data. And that data management has to encompass broader tools. We have to be able to implement the Internet of Things, the wireless sensing, and as it covers inventory, the instruments on our equipment, the robotics. We need that information constantly flowing and constantly being transformed into meaningful information for action. And coupled with that is going to be artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning and real-time feedback. So you can see all of these things, and these are the technical skills and how they deliver for Pharma 4.0. And we think about that when we think about building the capabilities of our new talent. A little bit more about the employment requirements. So beyond the technical skills, as I mentioned, there's a focus on the soft skills, and the drive for multidisciplinary knowledge is just getting stronger and stronger because we have to be able to communicate with each other. It doesn't mean that somebody who is a scientist needs to therefore understand the details of software development for robotics, but it does need to be that they're aware enough of those robotics and their uses that they can explain what they can get out of it and what their requirements are from a scientific point of view. So it's building those engagement and that multidisciplinary conversation that's going to drive the most successful companies. We need to integrate quality and regulatory into our operations. They can't be a secondary thing. They need to be a part of the operations. And therefore, all our employees, staff as well, have to be able to understand their quality and regulatory environments. And then business and financial operations. We're making decisions on the floor every day that have business and financial impact. And if we don't train our staff to understand those, we won't be as successful as we could be. What Pharma 4.0 brings to us is the opportunity for higher level operations and oversight. But what it means in terms of implementation, we will be starting with task-based automation. So we automate certain tasks, and then we build that together to get to that higher level oversight. And part of that has to be the data interpretation and response and understanding how to bring those models to give us the input and the process controls that we're looking for. Rapid reskilling, as I mentioned, that our talent, our skills have to be developed over and over and over again. There's been major shifts every 10 years in this environment, and I think they're getting faster. So you can imagine 10 years ago, we didn't have discussions around CRISPR, gene therapy, CAR-T, mRNA. The microbiome was just coming out as a treatment platform. It's amazing how fast things change in a decade, and yet we come into this field and we contribute 4 to 5 decades, which means we have to be relearning 4 to 5 times at least, and maybe more as things tool faster and faster. And then the critical and soft skills that we really need to focus on, innovation and teamwork and managing our resources to make sure everybody is efficiently delivering towards the value of our organization. So if those are all the requirements, and these are the pressures on our industry as we get towards 4.0, what are our opportunities for talent development? And as an academic institution, we're looking out into our business world and to our partners to better understand what do we need to be delivering for talent capabilities. So one of the considerations for employee development, there's a broad set of things to think about when you think about how to develop an employee to be aligned to the value they need to bring to your business. And this is a model developed by the Labor and Statistics Board of the United States. And you can see what it does is bucket things into 2 dimensions. So we have the horizontal dimension that looks at things that are occupational specific on the right, those skill sets that apply to your given occupation, and then things that are important across occupations, you can see to the left. And then you have the vertical, where we have things that are at the top focused on the worker as an individual, and things at the bottom that are focused on the job. And so in the middle is obviously what we deliver as a full employee. So where we can deliver as an academic institution is really looking at worker requirements and experience requirements. And this is the space that we're really trying to focus on understanding and looking for collaboration with industry to build. So if you think about educational opportunities in a kind of pyramid shape, as a lot of things are, you can say that the top of the pyramid is the elite research and undergraduate universities. And you can quickly come up with a list of these universities. These are the ones you think of and you hear about all the time on the news and in research platforms. And there's a secondary level that's also very active. All of these provide very strong training opportunities and excellent capabilities for academic skills development. At the bottom of our pyramid is the development, lower cost kind of opportunities for career prep and workforce development. So our staff that are coming in and working on the floor as opposed to being in the research labs. And we're looking at how do we develop that broad base of support from an operations point of view. And there's programs that are focused on that for our industry for bioprocessing. Delaware has a program at University of Delaware, the Delaware Biotechnology Institute. WPI has a program. North Carolina State has a program. Jefferson has a program. And they're working on making sure that our workforce that's already in the corporate environment is getting prepared and is continuing to be developed. There's a place in the middle that we work on at thinking about how do we collaborate industry and with academia to develop talent that comes out as a little bit more prepared than undergraduates, but isn't quite yet in the workforce and isn't part of these other workforce development activities. And that's an area that we really focus on at KGI. So we partner with NIMBLE and BPOG as inputs. These are consortiums in the industry. NIMBLE is a US-based government-supported part of the Department of Commerce. It's established to generate opportunities for technology and workforce development in biomanufacturing. And BPOG is Bioforum's operations group, is based out of England and is a worldwide global organization focused on mostly technology platforms, but tackling the need for developing capabilities across the industry. So where does that lead us to the future of work? So we need leaders who understand the business value of data analytics and are going to drive the implementation of these digital solutions. And we need then management to work across the supply chain for efficient solutions and support new work models that attract and retain the key talent. And then we need that talent to continuously build new skills. So bringing all of that together with our educational opportunities and the idea of how do we develop an employee, we have developed this map of how to build an industry collaborative opportunity for talent development. So we start with rigorous course offerings, focused in depth and as well on emerging topics, as well as the 50-year-old understanding of heat and mass transfer that are necessary in our industry. Industry participation. We want our industry partners to be part of our lectures, to be providing guest lectures, to do on-site training, to bring us current tools. We also work for hands-on experience, not only in our labs, which of course are part of our course offerings, but we want our students to do internships and to do corporate sponsored projects so they understand what it's like to work in your environments when they leave, so that we meet that need of when a student comes out of our program, they're ready to contribute the day they walk out of the program. And we hope that this drives us to a talent pool that at the entry level is incredibly strong, that allows they understand the business they're getting in, so the retention is high. They're innovative employees who are able to see the global impact of their work. And in conclusion, just revisiting, the Pharma 4.0 is really changing the requirements for the talent pool in our industry. And we have to address that both through ongoing programs for existing employees, as well as through an understanding and investment in the academic opportunities that we offer to students. We need to sustain a strong talent pool with multidisciplinary training. And then we strongly recommend that we work together across academics and industry to bring these opportunities to support the growth of our industry into the future. And I appreciate your attention. I understand that questions will be forwarded through email, so I appreciate your questions and look forward to more collaboration into the future. Thank you.